Heirlooms are very precious to all of us. Whether it's our great grandfather's ink pen or our Ajay's silver keychain that tinkled as she moved around our home. And when these are left behind for us, we take good care and protect them with the idea of leaving it for the generation after us. Yet, as a city, we have singularly failed in protecting our common heritage. Right behind me is the Fort High School, which was started in 1907. It was part of the original fort area and is a jewel of a building that lay in decay for many years. Some of its alumni include names like cricketer Vishwanath, H.S. Doraiswamy, even the Maharaja Jayachamrajendra Wadiyar. But luckily for the Fort High School, it might have a happy ending. I have with me Pankaj Modi, conservation architect with INTAC, which has taken over this project of restoring this jewel of a building to its former regal glory. Hello Pankaj, welcome to Citizens Live. Yeah. Now Pankaj, let's start with the basics. What is a heritage building in Bangalore, and do we have a list? Is there any manner in actually saying, Acha, this is a heritage site? What are the parameters of this? Do we have any of this?
So, what do we consider as heritage? Let's start with that. Anything that we have got from the past, okay, and which is of significance, which tells the story of Bangalore, whether it is about a person, about an event, about how the architecture was at that one particular time. That is what we can call as heritage. We normally call it as value-based analysis. It's not just about saying something is 100 years old, so you call it heritage. So anything that carries a certain value, we call them as heritage. Okay? So these heritage in Bangalore, interestingly, can be buildings, or areas and precincts, like you talk about Basavangudi, Gavipuram, Cantonment. We have gardens, parks in Bangalore. We have lakes in Bangalore, because they were part of the entire planning that went into Bangalore. We have hillocks. So there's a combination of natural, built and cultural heritage. So if we talk about some of the traditional festivals or rituals like Karga is there, Kadlekai Parishe, they all need to be considered as an important heritage.
But there's nothing in terms of an official way of declaring something as heritage. Like there's a governmental mohar, as we call it.
Yeah.
There is nothing like that in place.
So there is something. So let's understand, in India we have for protection of heritage, Archaeological Survey of India at national level. We have State Department of Archaeology.
But these are all documented buildings which might be built by, say, a royal family or something like that.
Yeah, like you have Tipu Sultan's palace or a fort.
Correct.
These are there. Unfortunately, other than that, nothing is yet recognized and been branded or given a certification that we can call it a heritage building and it can be regulated. That's been a problem, and that's why when something's repaired or demolished, we cannot really stop it. So there's always a fight to preserve our heritage over here. So that's where, in fact, in 1980s, INTAC had got a listing done by Professor Iyengar, and more than 800 buildings he had identified at that time, just going on a bicycle. Okay, and later on, when in 2014 and 15 we have done a survey, we found that quite a few buildings of that, almost 50%, were demolished.
So what was the original list number that we had?
So we had around 800 plus buildings in that, and in that also not everything was identified, because it was one man's effort. So whatever he could, he's done. So maximum effort of his was done, and after that we found that we tried to relate the same listing and see if those things are there or not there, and we've added some more to them. So we got more than 400 plus buildings, but we also saw that.
So from the 80s, which was about 800 odd, to 2016, right?
Yeah.
It's come down to 400 buildings.
Yeah.
You spoke about it being a fight to kind of preserve these structures. INTAC came into Fort High School to protect Fort High School. Sometime in 2013, you guys did a survey. You then spoke to Department of Public Instruction. You spoke to Kannada and Culture, all of that. And 5 years later, you managed to get the government to sign off the project to you when you said, you know, we will raise the money ourselves. You don't have to worry about it. Can you take me through the journey of actually getting this project going?
So actually our initial effort starts off in 2010.
Okay.
Where we made like a small report, documented the building through some students to say that this building needs preservation and it's an important building which we need to kind of restore because it's such a significant part of Bangalore's history. By the way, I should introduce Lakshman, who is a mason, chief mason of us. He's been working with lime mortar, which is a specialized skill, and he's from Jharkhand. So he's been
And
more
that's
than
what
2
we
decades.
find in this
Yes,
building.
this building has been built completely in brick and lime mortar, and all the ornamental works, cornices, moldings, plaster, terrace are all in lime mortar, and these people are specialized in this.
And he's from Jharkhand.
He's from Jharkhand.
Okay.
Most of this team which is working on lime mortar
Right.
is from Jharkhand.
So you were talking about the
so
journey
this
of
journey. So 2010, when we first started, we made a small thing, and in 2013 we took that around and just floated around, made a small brochure out of it to see if anybody is interested to look at this project. And we went to government departments. So we found that they're not really keen to fund these kind of projects. So what we did was we then approached through CSR, got permission from DPI that at least give us the building, we will organize for the funds, and that started in 2013. So when they said, okay, fine, you can take the building and if you can arrange your funds. And then we started looking out for funds, and one of the exhibitions which we did as then and now, which was nothing but a comparison of the buildings of 1980 listing with 2016 listing. There we found a person who was in favor of restoring buildings and was ready to give funds, Mr. Basant Poddar from Mineral Enterprises. And he said that he would like to restore some buildings and he'll make a donation for it.
So that's how this
And
project.
that's how this project became a reality.
That's how this project
this
became.
project became a reality.
Right.
And we made a complete project report, and we submitted this project cost was about 2.4 crores. Wherein we are kind of doing all the repair works to this building, maintaining it just as a school, because this continues to function as a school from 1907. So that's
The building was
interesting about it.
built in
built as a school in 1907.
Okay.
It was called as the Anglo Vernacular School in those days.
Right.
So this continues to be a school now. So we are kind of repairing it because this is an opportunity to completely restore this building.
Right.
And that's how then from 1 year back, 2018 April, World Heritage Day, we started this project. And it's been 1 year that we have been working on it now.
Right. You spoke about, it was difficult to get the government to give you any kind of funding for these kind of projects.
Yeah.
So, and clearly there is a negligence on the part of the general public also, because we are not very aware of what kind of history these places or spaces hold for us. Who do you think is more criminally negligent, if I want to put it very strongly? Is it the bureaucracy or is it the public?
I think to begin with, it's the lack of awareness across all sections as to what we consider heritage. That whole thing of considering monumental buildings as heritage should go away.
There is more to heritage than just your palaces
Just
that
your
you can.
palaces, your
Okay.
forts, and so on. You have so much of local history which is there, and there are buildings which reflect that, spaces which reflect that, and that should also be considered. So the first thing is awareness on that. Second is the awareness that they need a specialized kind of a work.
Just tell me, basically, which department in the government, in the state government, has the most number of heritage buildings under them?
So interestingly, again, most buildings, there are many owners to the building, but most of the buildings are maintained by PWD. The Public Works Department is carrying out the maintenance of many of the heritage buildings which are under different ownership.
Do they have any kind of expertise to if there is a renovation required of a space like this, which comes under the PWD, do they have any kind of specialized task force that can actually do this for them?
Looking at the examples of the restoration works or renovation works that they have done, or repair works as I would call them, it doesn't look like they have any understanding of what makes a heritage building different from a new or a modern building, whether it's in terms of the materials that were used or the techniques in which they were built. So when you're restoring a building, it means that you're looking at all the historical materials, the methods and techniques that were used in these buildings.
And they don't have it.
It's just not the character, but everything that goes
But
into
PW does not have it.
They don't have that.
They don't have it.
Unfortunately, a department like PWD, I think, should be having a specialized cell which will look into how to maintain these heritage buildings, should have trained people who know how these things are to be repaired should have staff who are sensitized into understanding of these techniques.
Just to give you an idea of what the PWD has done at the Fort High School, they actually did some bit of work here where they kind of plastered vitrified tiles in a 107-year-old building without understanding what went into the space itself. This is the PWD?
I think PWD or BBMP, whoever's
one
done
of them,
this, one of these
one
departments
of these guys
have done it.
it.
But this is what happens when they are insensitive to the character of the building. And how it is done. And some of these things can actually complicate the problems. They can aggravate the problems more.
Right. How difficult, okay, now once this is restored, how difficult is it to maintain a space like this? Because clearly a lack of maintenance is what has made this get to the point of
need
decay.
For a restoration. Yes.
So how difficult is it to maintain places like this? What is the one thing you would say ki, bhai, you have to do this and it will be fine? Can you give me certain pointers on maintaining this?
So the thing about maintenance of heritage buildings, it's actually not a very complex job, but if it is not done very regularly, it leads to a bigger problem over the time. And we have seen that. Just to give you an example of rainwater, okay, if the water is coming onto the terraces and if it is not taken away straight and it gets blocked over there or choked, then it starts seeping in, it leads to vegetation growth, and then the roots start spreading into the building, and you'll see that that's been one of the biggest problems in many heritage buildings.
It's as simple as cleaning the terrace?
What it just needs is a free repairs which can be done periodically. We actually have, we are giving with this kind of heritage buildings post-restoration maintenance manual kind of a thing, wherein we just tell them that, okay, just before monsoons, please clean up your terraces, take away all the leaves that are there, see to it that your spouts are not blocked. These are the kind of things that we need. I mean, that's starting with the basic ones. Then you have some tiles would have broken over there, just replace them. So there are small repairs if at all it happens, and if they can be done in time, it doesn't. So
basically, a stitch in time, save nine.
Save nine. That's exactly how heritage buildings can be much more well preserved.
And it's not just about the economic value of the space. You can actually create an economic plan out of heritage buildings themselves, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Create a plan and turn it into a walkathon and that sort of thing.
Yes. I mean, these offer so much potential. I mean, these can become like cultural spaces for the town. It can become an important public space for the town. I mean, you see this kind of a school, it's after 3 p.m. it's not used at all. I mean, why not have this ground, have some of the rooms open for some kind of public events which can be taken up, which can also bring in certain revenues to this place. So they can easily generate a lot of money for this place, which can again help in the repairs and maintenance of this place. If you can just have like an annual maintenance contract with somebody, these funds can be used for that.
Does that cost too much?
Not at all. As I said, it's just like having two people coming and cleaning up your place every now and then. So just having a good maintenance staff or a regular staff itself who are trained into this can
do that. It's as simple as that.
As simple as that.
My final question to you, Pankaj. Clearly, there is a lack of clarity in terms of who is the custodian of these spaces, like we discussed before. If not for the official route of it, who do you think should have the primary custody of these spaces? Is it with the people? Is it with the people?
You and me, yes, it is with the people. It is for us to see to it that, for example, even if this kind of building is there, there are department behind it, there are principal behind it, but see to it that they take care of it. We are the people who have to take care, see to it. There are many of the lakes, so that so many, I mean, it's again today saved because of the people who are fighting for it. The local groups which have been formed, associations which have been formed. So I think it is back to people.
It's community driven. It's community driven is what you're saying.
Yes, it has to be driven by them.
Behind me is the restoration work that Pankaj is leading, and he says in another 5 months this building should be back to its original glory. But like he also said, the responsibility of protecting these spaces largely lies with us as a community, and we need to take up this responsibility very seriously. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week. Take care.